She doesn't announce her arrival. She's not performing. She's not pretending. She's not desperate to be seen. She simply is. And whether she's wearing a silk blouse or a cotton robe, sipping tea or leading a boardroom, there's something unmistakable about her. You feel it in her presence. You see it in her posture. You hear it in the way she says thank you. She's classy. And in a world full of noise, trends, and shortcuts, she is a reminder that elegance never expires. Welcome to She Is Rich, the channel where elegance is a lifestyle, wealth begins with self-respect, and class is built in silence. Today, I'm going to walk you through 10 signs that show you are a classy lady. And more importantly, how to embody that energy every single day. Let's begin. Sign 1. You correct without humiliating. Classy women do not embarrass others, even when they're right. If a waiter makes a mistake, she doesn't roll her eyes or raise her voice. If a friend mispronounces a word, she doesn't mock them. If a colleague gets a detail wrong, she gently corrects in private. Not for power, but for protection. This is because a classy woman knows. Her grace is not proven by how she treats people above her, but by how she treats people who can't do anything for her. She never uses knowledge as a weapon. She doesn't dominate with facts. She refines people just by being around them. And when you can correct without ego, you're no longer seeking superiority. You're practicing legacy. That's what classy women do. Sign 2. You have rituals, not just routines. There's a difference between getting ready and preparing yourself, between doing skincare and adorning yourself, between making coffee and opening a ceremony. Classy women don't live in hustle. They live in rhythm. They treat their mornings, their meals, their walks, their baths as rituals. They light candles. They choose glassware with care. They tie their robe like it means something, because it does. And no, this isn't about luxury. This is about how much you value yourself. When you live in ritual, you are saying, my time matters. My peace is sacred. My life is not something to rush through. It's something to savor. This is how classy women glow. They don't burn out. They radiate. Sign 3. You set boundaries with poise, not punishment. A classy woman does not raise her voice. She does not ghost. She does not block and delete without explanation. She simply states the boundary and keeps walking. She might say, that doesn't feel respectful to me. I'd rather not discuss that. I won't continue the conversation if it becomes disrespectful. Then she leaves it there. No apology. No argument. No breakdown. Her boundaries are not threats. They're standards. And because she enforces them calmly, people remember them. Because elegance doesn't mean being agreeable. It means being anchored. Sign 4. You speak less, but say more. There is power in quiet speech, not whispering an intentional tone. Classy women do not fill silence with noise. They don't overshare. They don't rush to explain themselves. They don't narrate every insecurity. When she speaks, it's measured. It's thoughtful. It's often slower than expected, which makes people lean in. She doesn't say, I'm just, or I'm sorry to bother you. She says, may I have a moment of your time? She doesn't say, I think maybe. She says, I believe. Her words carry weight. Because she's not tossing them around carelessly. She knows loud doesn't equal powerful. Stillness does. Sign 5. You don't compete. You curate. A classy woman isn't trying to be the most fashionable, the most followed, or the most flirted with. She's not watching what others are doing. She's focused on her own alignment. She curates her style, her home, her friendships, her schedule. Not to impress anyone, but because chaos doesn't inspire her, clarity does. She's not dressing for Instagram. She's dressing for her future self. She's not chasing relationships. She's building roots. Classy women have nothing to prove. They have something to protect, their peace. Sign 6. You embrace femininity as power, not performance. Soft voice? Power. Graceful walk? Power. Polished nails, delicate accessories, fresh scent? Power. None of these are for approval. They are tools, chosen, honed, mastered. Classy women don't think being feminine means being weak. They know it means, I know I don't need to overpower you because I've already outgrown the game. She nurtures her space. She brings elegance to the table. She doesn't over-explain. She lets her energy speak. And it does. When a classy woman walks in, the room doesn't go silent. It goes still. Sign 7. You never complain about your life publicly. You will never see a classy woman airing her struggles in her Instagram captions. You won't hear her announcing her stress to strangers. She doesn't dump energy everywhere she goes. Not because her life is perfect, but because she respects it enough to hold it with dignity. She might share in private, with someone safe. But she does not vent online. She doesn't weaponize her emotions. And she doesn't confuse vulnerability with unfiltered chaos. Her sadness is valid, but her story is sacred. And she protects it like it's worth something. Because it is. Sign 8, you're calm when everyone else is panicking. Classy women know how to pause. In an argument, in a crisis, in a delay, in a mess, they take a breath. They adjust their tone. They don't match chaos, they reset it. Why? Because they've trained their nervous system to stay stable, to not react to every trigger, to own their presence in uncomfortable moments. I once saw a woman in her 60s handle a wedding disaster with such calm. No screaming, no meltdown. Just grace, directness, and grounded leadership. That's class. Not because she knew what to do, but because she knew who she was and acted like it. Sign 9. You let go of things quietly. When a classy woman outgrows a friendship, a job, a belief, or a dynamic, she doesn't make a scene. She simply lets go. She does not seek revenge. She does not demand closure. She does not post subliminal quotes. She removes herself, not to prove anything, but to protect her own energy. And that kind of quiet exit? That's when people realize what they lost. She doesn't punish. She doesn't persuade. She chooses peace and lives it. Sign 10. You know your presence is enough. A classy woman doesn't rely on clothes, makeup, or approval to feel worthy. She is refined, not because of what she adds, but because of what she knows doesn't need to be there. She doesn't need to outshine. She doesn't need to impress. She just is. She walks with purpose. She speaks with clarity. She smiles with softness. She leaves a trail of grace behind her, without forcing it. Because at the end of the day, being classy isn't about being perfect. It's about being anchored. If you saw yourself in these signs, or even if you saw the version of you you're becoming, then you are already a classy woman. Because class isn't about being born into wealth. It's not about dressing like old money. It's not even about how you look. It's about the energy you carry, the self-respect you embody, the softness you protect, even in a hard world. You are the woman who speaks with intention, who corrects gently, who moves with peace, who creates ritual, who makes everything, including herself, feel like art. That is class, and it can't be faked. It's lived. This is She Is Rich. And if you're ready to rise into the woman you've always been becoming, subscribe. Because elegance doesn't age, and your power is already here.